Welcome to the Inside Integration Podcast. My name is Chris. I'm joined, as always, by my partner, Jayson.
What's up, everybody?
And today we are going to dive a little bit into the world of AI. We're starting to hear from a lot of people that it is really kind of getting its claws and tentacles into this world that we love in a lot of different ways. Including into some very popular control systems, which that's the segue.
Oh, there we go. It's a very subtle and very nuanced entree into our follow-up.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't literally watching the Mets game with one eye right now.
Oh, so I understand. I understand where we stack up here. So if you suddenly start cheering or suddenly start growling,
we're turning the phone over. We're getting out of this app in my watch. We don't need to get text messages from Phillies fans in my life. And
no, you definitely don't need that in your life.
Ever.
I can tell you that right now.
No, ever. Just as a general, and here's your pro tip for today. If you have Philadelphia Phillies fans in your life, cut them out because they're toxic universally.
I thought you were going to say take them out in a river and drown them or something like that.
No, nothing.
Just cut them out. Okay, I'm sorry. No. I was getting my Salem witch trials on because it's October.
I
was feeling. I don't know.
And honestly, why would you do that to the river? Why subject the river to that kind of punishment, right?
You're not wrong about that. Who needs all of that gook in the river? Let's keep the water supply clean. Let's keep the witches and the Phillies fans out of the water. And
the Schuylkill River is already a toilet. Okay, we don't need to make the Schuylkill River any worse. That's a real obscure one for you guys.
I was going to say that's a deep cut for somebody in New England, I'm sure, somewhere near Foxborough maybe or something. Who knows?
Run them off the blue line, and sure, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, it'll be great.
So
as we tangent back into our line of conversation here.
So Jayson, how was those trainings? Tell me about it.
This is my opportunity, of course, to thank Bridget and the folks at Josh.AI for showing up, and frankly for our guys for showing up. I think we were over 35, I think, total attendees for both days between Seattle and Portland, and 20-ish people in Seattle is kind of, I would say, a pretty solid average. But to be double digits in Portland, given kind of the nature of the market, and how scattered a lot of the guys are in different cities that are close to Portland or what have you, but sure. Not exactly Portland.
Big wide open area.
Yeah, sure. It's just a lot of highways. There's only one road to get there, kind of thing. It was great to have everybody come out. Bridget did a great job. I learned a lot about Josh.AI. I learned a lot about really how to be a better presenter, I would say, and just more schooled in it. Got the certification done. So one little thing to note, if you are listening to this podcast and you're not in the Pacific Northwest, but you would like to attend a Josh training, there's a list that Josh has posted on their website. And I think we might even have a link to that schedule, but they're traveling the country right now, wrapping up post C to kind of capture some of that momentum. Mm-hmm. If you're worried about, does this make sense for my business? You can actually attend one of these trainings without being a Josh dealer. You attend the training, you sit through it. It's a 4-hour investment of your time. But when you come out on the other side of it, you're already certified. So you'll actually have taken the test. You won't have to sit through any of the training. You can kind of circumnavigate any of the demo requirements. You can actually figure out like, hey, does this make sense for me or not? And then if you want to make the plunge and buy a demo kit and sign up to be a dealer, you're already equipped to take what you've learned from the class and apply it right away. So that kind of approach, I think, is a newer one and a pretty genius one in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's kind of a no sweat training from what I remember from the one I went to here in OC. It was not that bad. It's everybody harkens back to the day of training to be a programmer, right? So you go with Savant, you go for 3 days to Hyannis, or for Crestron, you go, for a week
or
to
Orlando
Rockland,
and
New
go
Jersey, or Orlando, right? And
you go to Kobe Steakhouse
right,
for dinner for a couple of nights in a
right.
row. You're like, teppanyaki again? No.
What's the closest Dave and Buster's to the training center? Because that's where they're going to take everybody at least one night 100%. For sure.
Yep.
But it's not, it's definitely not like that anymore. Even Control 4, right? Like you're going to South Carolina or wherever it is, for days and days. I mean, the Josh training is an afternoon, and it is super simple, and it's kind of a testament to how easy it is to really set up,
Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest things that I learned during the class was like, we're going to talk more about AI here, and this thing is internet based and it's cloud based. So there's some fundamental things that kind of apply to that, right? So, it kind of feels like you're somewhere between what Savant and Crestron can deliver meets Logitech. And I don't mean that as any negative connotation, but in terms of I've got a database, I've got to tell something outside of this home or outside of this dwelling, hey, I'm here. Here's what this house looks like. Here's what the property looks like. Here are the devices in these rooms that I'm trying to control. And the logic and the artificial intelligence goes, oh, logically, then I need to do X, Y, and Z. It does all of the conditional thinking and all of this, all of the situational stuff pretty much for you. So again, the hours that I've spent trying to align a calendar with lighting events and stuff like that in previous control system platforms that I've used in my life, just to be able to tell the machine, hey, this is my address, my zip code, this is what my house looks like. And I can just tell it, hey, if it's below 55 degrees outside, I'd like you to turn on the fireplace. And as long as you've got, the Shelly or the Global Cache devices in there, or maybe you've got a properly equipped fireplace that's got smart control in it.
Sure.
If it's cold outside, the fireplace is going to turn on for you. That's all the programming you have to do. So
yep.
That was a pretty big aha moment. I had done the training before, and certainly we worked with Tyler before, but actually sitting there and watching Bridget kind of drag us through the process, again, like you were saying before, and I was saying, you're going to leave this thing certified, but it doesn't take a huge leap of understanding to be able to put this thing together, especially if you're an integrator. It's got a wizard style platform. It's all, again, cloud-based, or you can set it up on your phone if you want. Like right. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. It's pretty great. And then, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously we don't want to tell people the wrong thing, but a lot of the scenes and customer configurations and that kind of thing, that's pretty much all done in plain text, right? Like you're typing in and saying, hey, at 7:00 every single weekday, I want to do this, and it's in, right? Like,
right. So that's really comes down to your infrastructure setup. So although it can be pretty tedious, where you're going in and you're saying, mom's TV, mom's Roku, dad's Apple TV, whatever that stuff is, as long as your naming is consistent across the network. And if you're piggybacking it onto Control 4 or another control system platform out there,
right.
Again, that's really where the naming nomenclature is going to come in and be super important. But if you're setting this up by yourself as a standalone, just make sure your naming convention is consistent across the board. And when the Josh pulls the network and pulls in all the devices that are attached and knows which ones it can control and which ones it can't, you've basically done all of the work for setting this thing up. Basically, you're just nesting devices in rooms, drawing connection associations, and it's doing the rest for you, which is,
right.
Again, pretty beautiful. And then as far as the seeds and stuff go, the client's really the one setting that up. Outside of doing maybe some channel favorites on a cable box or something like that,
sure.
Ultimately, the client can either type in plain text into a chat bar in the app, or through software, or if they're going with a voice plan, they can actually just say it and right. It'll remember it, which is, again, pretty mind-boggling, but also extremely cool when you think about it.
And being cloud-based, I mean, it doesn't have to be. We have a lot of dealers who want to provide that full service and that full concierge experience, but being that it's cloud-based, I mean, really, you could have somebody in your office. Could be a programmer who's not going out to the field that day. Could be your admin if they're capable. They could be building all your scenes. Like, so here, here's your outdoor lighting scene. Here's your
So here's the hack, that I figured out. So if you're an integrator and you're like, I want to sell Josh, you can manage the customer software plan. You can manage all of that stuff for the client. So they're basically paying you. You put your credit card on file or whatever to keep their subscription alive and active. If you're doing a lifetime activation, which again is definitely recommended, 2 thumbs up by this guy, you can really stretch out the tail of the investment, and get the maximum from the solution. Like, it's insane what the power of this software and what this product can deliver. And I know it's a bunch of superlatives here, but it's again, it was really eye opening and mind expanding when you think about, okay, if I'm a production integrator, I'm trying to keep it simple. I'm trying to make my turns as fast as possible. As long as I've got a live internet connection and I've got $2,000 of my client's money, their house can stay up and running with 100 devices on it forever. I never have to come back. If I have my admin offsite and I have access to the client's home because I'm monitoring their software plan, guess what? If there's an issue, if there's a problem, you can make those edits, you can make those changes remotely. You don't ever have to roll a truck. So you're talking about the concierge thing. Josh is pretty much purpose built for that.
Yeah, agreed. It's it's definitely, catering to integrators and minimizing truck rolls and just trying to make things as easy peasy as it can be. And yeah, coming from a programming background, it was definitely a little bit disarming to be in that class and like, oh wow, okay, I don't need to know I don't have to do any logic statements here. Like, great. It's all about naming.
You're playing the drinking game at home. Where I say Phillips Pronto, it's time to drink. Right. When I think about all of the days that I spent in front of, Daniel Tonk's Remote Central, pulling in icons and all that stuff for favorite channels and all that goofy stuff. You can tell it, here's my cable provider. And if I've got I think it's the latest Comcast box or the Joey box, there's already an integration for it. Like, if it's one of the smart enabled boxes, it's already going to know all the channels, the guide, all that stuff. It's just awesome. So it was a big eye-opening experience. And, I was looking at it kind of from from where I look at it from the cheap seats. You've been to a baseball game with me. You've got an option, as I mentioned, with up to 100 devices. You've got an app and you've got the controller. I mean, lifetime activation on that thing is under $2,000. So it's hard to put in perspective the kind of value proposition that really is from a control system perspective, frankly. And conversely, like on the high end, like if you want to take advantage of the Nimble Dev Suite, you want to open up gates, you want to run a fountain, all of the like the bigger control system, bigger options that they've got out there. Again, you can get up into that $30,000-$40,000 range, but again, relative to what control systems cost, frankly, a rounding error compared to some of the 6-figure Crestron systems that I'm, personally responsible for deploying.
Well, and that's their, that's definitely, they mention that a lot, is that, don't spend money on the processor, spend the money on the gear. And man,
keep it out of the rack. Or spend it on furniture or spend it on shading or whatever. And I agree, the deep, the deep integrations and that kind of stuff that go along with this are awesome, but that shouldn't cost $1 zillion. You should be trying to maximize the things that can really, bring home revenue and deliver value for your customers.
Yep. Totally agree. So with that, that's our Josh.AI break for today.
Sorry. Well, again, big fan. I'm loving it at my house. So it's really cool. So if you guys are interested in learning more about it, certainly check out the website or reach out to us. Let's talk about Josh and see if it's in your bag of tricks.
Yeah, it's slick and it's definitely innovative, definitely a cool thing, and it's fun to play with just in your own house. So
demoing it is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the biggest parts of Josh kind of relates to our main topic here, which is the AI part, and they're really starting to flesh that stuff out. There are a lot of things that you can do with Josh, and besides just like just besides like just the kind of parlor tricks of asking your control system what the weather is, and asking what time is sunset and that sort of thing. Those
My
things are those things
my
are
kids
really
cheating on
cool.
their homework with it. Yeah, my kids were cheating on their
Right.
homework with it, asking
Right.
it math questions. So now you have to tell Josh, hey, Josh, don't answer any more math questions.
Exactly. But they are actively fleshing this out where, at some point we're going to see, you'll be able to, they're already experimenting a little bit with video and, being able to describe what's in a video pane. So, hey, Josh, how many people are on my deck? 6. Like that's the kind of thing that now we're really starting to make homes smart. And you can't do that without some sort of AI, flavor in there. But things like generating background images on your touch panel, right? So now Josh has a touch panel, and you can ask
Right.
Josh to say, hey, I want a picture of a golden retriever in a field of sunflowers as my background. And the thing
Or,
goes, finds it, dumps it onto your touch panel, and now you're all set, right? Like
or if you're Alex, you ask it for a golden retriever battling a million zombies, and there's
right.
a web, there's an icon of this giant golden retriever with beams coming out of its eyes, stomping zombies. Fantastic, So
Yeah.
you've got the power of a machine that really doesn't have a context for what you're
Right.
asking
Right.
for, which is kind of fun, right?
So and yeah, and for the fun factor, I mean, infinite customizability, right? Like you can make your app or
Amazing.
make whatever look however you want, with whatever pictures and that kind of thing. And yeah, obviously you could put pictures of your kids, but why would you want to do that when you can have a zombie fighting a dog fighting a horde of zombies? That's where the fun is, truly. But it's not a hard thing to see ahead and say, okay, you know, can we, if it's raining outside, right? Like Josh is aware of the thing and Josh can take, inputs and that kind of thing. When it starts making decisions based on, hey, it's raining, I'm going to retract my, my patio shade, or, it's whatever those things are. It's going to be a really sunny day. So I'm going to start the day when I say, Josh, good morning, that, the shades are down, or whatever it is. These are the things that are really going to make home automation just, it's going to take it to the next level, and that's all AI based, and that's, these guys are really working on it. We've seen some amazing things, some stuff that's coming down the pipe. The hardware is great, but the software and how it integrates with these things is going to be amazing. And that's just on the control system side, right? Like,
Yeah, it's going to become invisible. For us that grew up in a time where you were the control system for the lighting system in the house.
right,
Hey, go up there and make sure that light's off in your bedroom. You know what? Electrons aren't free, or whatever we got beat over the head with in our day, right? I mean, we're rapidly approaching the point where smart home is kind of ubiquitous. Like it's just an expectation. It's not a matter of, oh, well, it has these extra features. It's like, no, well, of course it has those features. It's 2024, for Christ's sake. Like, what are we talking about
right.
here?
It,
You
it
know?
it's gonna be assumed, and I mean, I feel like in the next 2 years, I normally say like 5 years or whatever, but like I think in the next 2 years, we are going to see AI in every aspect. I think you'll see some kind of offering from every control system. There'll be, Josh is ahead right now, but I think you'll start seeing it from the major players. You'll probably see something from Lutron, these things that they all kind of tie together, and they use this, cloud processing to make decisions and tailor your home. Use that artificial intelligence to tailor your home the way that you usually do it. So, if you're going through, you use the house, right? So the house gets finished by your integrator. There are stickers on all of your keypads with, laying out what the buttons are and that kind of thing. And as you're going through it, it's pretty easy to see that you could definitely have a piece of software that kind of tracks what you do and how you do it, and then maybe makes suggestions for your integrator to see, okay, you should set up these 4 scenes. This is what your client uses multiple buttons to do on a consistent basis. I mean, that really takes a lot of the pressure off of us to kind of tailor these things. You know,
Predictive modeling, just sort of standardized macros and those sort of things that you would have to build on your own. There'll be an artificial
yeah,
assistant, looking out for you. Again, just kind of hurts my old man feelings, frankly.
We used
we've got
to work,
Droid.
Jayson. We used to
I
work
know
for
we
a
got
living.
everybody's got a C3PO and an R2D2 now. It's called ChatGPT.
Right.
I'm not mad specifically because ChatGPT can't go and get me a cocktail or shoot me a lightsaber when I'm fighting Jabba the Hutt.
Yet.
But oh yeah, we're working we're working our way there. We're working our way there. Like one of the things that I found, I think the most compelling with this again is the idea of having this intelligence there without the voice assistant part. Because although I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm not worried about all the alphabet, like what are they, the alphabet contingency, the agencies out there of FBI, CIA, whatever. I'm not saying anything that's of national importance by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
This podcast is evidence of that.
Right.
But the idea that you can have this thing out there that basically is just in the background, making sure that the lights are working, making sure that the TV comes on. It's reporting it somewhere if it's not working because it can tell if things turned on or off. To your point, maybe it's got some analysis of what's happening in the room for your security system. Hey, is there somebody at my front door right now? Is there anybody in my backyard? And Josh will look out there and say, no, I see a unicorn floating around in a kidney-shaped sized pool, right, with some Panama Jack towels that somebody left out on a lawn chair,
right,
or whatever out there, right? Like, I don't know. It's exciting to think about what the power of that really is. I mean, you use Chat GPT quite a bit with some of the imaging and some of the stuff that you're doing. I'm seeing more and more integrators asking about it or using it for shooting out emails and social media posts, those kinds of things. I mean, yeah, it might be a little kludgy and maybe not something you want to use for your primary means of marketing or communication.
Yeah,
but
you don't just
we're not far from there.
There's plenty. It's funny because as I scroll LinkedIn, you can absolutely tell who just kind of phoned it in. Hey, ChatGPT, let me copy your homework, and just copy and paste this thing right in here. The word delve is a great one. As soon as you see the word delve,
there's those keywords,
yeah,
delve and foray, and there's some, yeah, I'm sorry, you're in third grade English.
Yep.
You don't know what delve means.
Right. No human being, or most human beings, do not use phrases like, ignite the excitement or, that kind of thing. So yeah, when you're scrolling through, especially on, dare I say, manufacturers, maybe other rep firms, I don't know. But it's quite funny to see. But for what it's worth, and I do use it because I'm a one-man show, 3 companies, one guy doing marketing. There's, if I can put something in to ChatGPT and say, hey, I need some ideas on this or whatever, like that helps, right? Like that really gets the juices going. You can absolutely use that kind of thing. And if you're an integrator, how should I approach social media marketing? It'll give you a place to start. Here's somebody to bounce stuff off of, right? Obviously,
I was going to say, it's an electronic muse, right? Like, yeah. It's sort of like a bellwether. Like, am I completely stupid? Oh no, you're a very logical machine. You've told me what it is I'm supposed to do here.
And I mean, one of the, from a morale standpoint, one of the best uses of ChatGPT and Midjourney and some of these other ones is, typing in prompts like, can you generate a picture of Jayson riding an RV at maximum speed, chased by a bear? And
I think you've proven that's actually a thing that you can do.
We get that image and we share it with our whole company, and everybody has a good laugh, and we move on to the next thing.
Laugh. Yeah. Back to Wednesday. Get back to the salt mines, you slaves.
Exactly. Cracking a whip, and we're on our way. But
yeah, good chuckle. Now get to work.
But it's a good, the marketing is one end of it, but there are. We were walking around Cedia, and Portal had a huge, they had a big booth, and their whole thing was, we can generate proposals with AI. Why not? Right? Like, you feed, if you're an integrator, you take OpenAI or one of the other competitors, Claude or whoever, and if you can train a model to, spec the gear that you want to spec in the situations that you want to spec it, per room, per house, per whatever, even if you use that thing to, make a proposal that's 80% of the way done and it still needs a human being to double check it and fill in some of the blanks, that's a lot of time you just saved.
For sure. I was going to ask you about that with the modeling thing. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but when you say training a model, is there like a preset where you're like, I need the Jeff or the Bob model? So in the Bob vernacular, I need, from the perspective of Bob, I need a proposal written, or I need a story about, or I need we keep talking about our experience at Sonance, but where Ari was talking about in the perspective of the author.
Sure.
Give me a bullet point list of red flags or questions to ask a prospective employee for, the top 5 members of a team or what have you. Right.
So, and the way that you, and it's a lot like training. It's a lot like training an assistant, training another employee, training somebody to take your place, because essentially you kind of are, right? You're training your own help. But from an integrator standpoint, the way that I would do it if I was still working for an integrator and doing proposals and tasked with, making more, efficient processes here, right? I would take previous proposals, I would feed them all in, take them right into PDF, put them in. This is what we typically spec for projects. This is, how this is. This house is a 6,500 square foot house. It's here. It's got southern exposure. This is, this proposal incorporate, right? Like you basically have to tell it. You can't just dump something in there blind. But if you can explain to the thing what you're giving it and then give it more and more and more and more examples of it, the more that you can train it, the better that it's going to be able to kind of predict what you want it to do. So if I was using it for hiring, what I would do is I would take my employee, I would take my employee manual, which obviously every integrator has, right? And
I'm winking if you're watching the video portion of this podcast.
I would feed that thing in there, and then I would start, kind of laying out some of the intangibles, right? Like, our team works best when it's a senior guy paired with a junior guy. And, when this person with these skills is paired with these skills and that sort of thing. And then basically I would just build up this systems, I would build up the GPT, which is, what it's called, and I would fill its head with, knowledge of my institution. And I would probably use that, right? I would bounce that off of, and it doesn't take the place of an in-person interview. It doesn't take the place of having a candidate come in and meet with multiple members of the team to get everybody else's take on it. But it could absolutely give you an idea of what you're looking for, right? So if you've got, Tom and Ray are model employees, you just start banging out all of their positive traits that you like and things that they do that that you really like. And even the negatives, right? Like, hey, we got this guy, he's great at this, but he's not so good at this. He does this really well. He's a great communicator, but he's not a great doer, that kind of thing. And essentially you're building a robot to bounce ideas off of. You're not ever going to give that thing, any kind of decision making or anything else, or really stake anything important to it, but it's going to give you a set of ears that you can bounce something off of. And that's kind of what I use it for a lot. Like I'll bang out, I'll be putting together flyers or an email blast or something, and I will feed it into, the GPT that I created, and just say, what do you think of this? Is this in the tone that we've done previously? Is this, is there something that can I be more efficient with words to help, to help people read this better and make sure that they're going to get to the third paragraph instead of stopping at the first? That's the kind of thing that, being able to train a model can really help, especially a small integrator. If it's like, our boys over at Gradient, right? Where it's 4 guys, 5 guys or whatever, you've got your typical roles. You've got a planner and you've got a doer, and to have an additional virtual person that you can really bounce stuff off of and, ask questions to after you've trained it, man, that's a huge thing, man. You're talking laying out $20 a month versus right. Healthcare and everything else, and it's a little terrifying for sure, because, being in this seat, I can easily see the day when most marketing is automated, right? And, if train a model well enough and hey, what do we need a Chris for? Right. Like that's absolutely a concern.
Ask myself every day.
But then who's going to make the memes? Because it still can't make memes, right? That's, you're not going to get,
that's really what it is.
You're never going to get this kind of East Coast snark and sarcasm with a GPT. It's just never going to happen. So don't even try.
Well, it's really what you get. It's really what you're paying for. Honestly, it's all the skills and the snark. It's all rolled into one. It's part of a package deal. And personally, I appreciate it because, without that, we really wouldn't have a show, frankly. So
it gets a lot more dry. It really gets a lot more dry.
I get really boring. I've heard myself talk a lot and it's terrible and I start to wander. So, it's good to have people keeping you, in your lane and doing what you're supposed to do.
I mean, we're on, what are we on? Episode 38. So at 52, we'll be at a year. So, I mean, I can't do the math on that because I'm watching baseball. But, what do we got? Like 16 more before we're at that year mark? Maybe at our year mark, maybe we just do a show with just 2 AI jackasses, me and you, and we'll just let it see what happens.
Let's do a model a podcast between 2 middle-aged white guys that are fully jaded. One is from New Jersey, loves pork rolls. The other one thinks he's from New Jersey, but has really lived all over the United States and taken the best and the worst parts of each bit of it to form a personality out of. So
there you go.
Let's see what happens.
But so again, AI for integrators, I mean, there's a lot that can help you there. And I didn't get to dig too deep into the portal implementation of AI, but from what I've heard, it really does that. It does, it kind of learns how you make proposals, and that's what makes it easier. So if you've got
a standard, we always do this speaker, we always do this wall plate, we always do these mud rings, we always use X amount of screws and X amount of wire. Can you help me build a BOM, bill of materials with estimated wire lengths and parts and stuff required for a rough-in or for a panel? And all of a sudden you're like, well, do I need D-Tools or do I need ChatGPT?
Right.
Or do I need QuickBooks and ChatGPT linked together? I just don't need to give it the missile codes. Everything else, I'm good to go. Right. Like
there was an integrator that I worked for that was really, really precise when they would put together proposals and do wiring estimates and that kind of thing. And it literally to figure out wiring, the CAD designer would have a floor plan and he would take his mouse and he would click around each room and then click back to the head end, click around a room, back to the head end, click around, and then measure the length of that line in scale on the print. And it created a very, very close wiring requirement. There's no reason that you can't feed a PDF of a CAD with a scale into ChatGPT and say, I need to know how much wire this is going to take. Here's what the runs are, that kind of thing. And that's
plus 10% for pigtails and service, right?
Exactly. Right. Plus, and that was the thing for Slack, the kid used to go around the room, like an extra time or whatever it was. And that would lead to big old pigtails and as you would expect, but it's a heck of a lot easier than trying to eyeball it or walking it off or being out there with a tape measure, figuring it out.
Or cutting back up the drywall because you've only got this much wire coming out, just mud ring.
Right. Well, I mean, AI still cannot prevent drywall guys from buzzsawing right through, what your wire sticking out on the wall. But these are the things that, we should all be in the business of becoming more efficient and refining our processes as much as we can. And that goes for, if you've got your standardized proposal template and that kind of thing, you could probably standardize like 70% of that. That's a lot of work, right? If you typically do the same kind of project and that's your wheelhouse and that's what you want to do, if you do Control 4, there's no reason that you can't reuse one config to the next, to the next, to the next, and then just tweak it as you need. Because it saves you a ton of time. And that's the name of the game these days, is saving time, becoming more efficient, and, really distinguishing yourself. Take care of all the back end stuff, right? Like everybody does that stuff, but focus on the things that make you different from the other integrators in your market and the customer service, the bedside manner, that kind of thing. And that's where we got to get to. and AI is just another tool to get there.
Let the AI do the dumb work for you, or smart work, as the case may be. Um, Again, I agree. It's interesting to hear your perspective because you've got a bunch more experience than I do with it. So I've just shut up and sort of learned a whole bunch more on this podcast.
I've been in a
just
coal
listening
mine.
to you talk about it, so it's exciting. No, it's cool. I like it.
I've been in a coal mine a long time, and I mean I'm not that far out of the coal mine, to be honest. And hey, who knows? Might be back in the coal mine. Who knows? But essentially, this whole biz, man, it's really all about if you can figure out, if you can make all this stuff just a process and repetitive, and get that stuff on autopilot, then you can really focus on being a great salesman, or making clients just so happy with you that they refer you to all of their friends at the country club, and that kind of thing. And that's where we got to get there.
Yeah. Well, again, I think with products like Josh.AI, leveraging the power of AI, I think that I think that company, that product line is really on its way to the moon. And kind of how you just laid out there for everybody, like the tools and the performance and we'll just call it the intelligence that's built into this platform. Really, home control, making sure the lights are on and off, or if it's cold outside, the fireplace comes on, is kind of, shall we say, fairly rudimentary. You know what I mean? The privacy aspect of it, and that I know is a big concern for people.
Sure is.
The two guys that have founded this have basically, although it does go to the cloud, they're not selling any of your information. They're just using those details to obviously log what's going on with your home, but also improve the performance of their model.
Yeah.
So again, really, I just kind of put those two Legos together in my head. They really just created a model for, hey, if we're doing this in a house, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and just continue to refine and build that. So now you've got things that are deep linking into Lutron or Roku or Apple TV or Sony or what have you.
Certainly.
And just, hey, let's make your life easier. This isn't rocket science.
Absolutely. And again, anything to make your life easier, whether as a programmer or a business owner, AI, there's probably some sort of implementation of AI that can help you. And these are exciting times. I mean, honest to God, these are really exciting times, because I understand the fear. Again, I'm not that far removed from being an integrator. Like, I totally understand the fear of putting programming into AI, and wow, what's it going to spit out? Am I going to have to un-F this issue that this thing creates for me, right? This Gordian knot that it created. But it's exciting because it is, it absolutely makes your life a lot easier, and to the end goal of standardize everything. Just get this thing onto autopilot, get it going. And like the proof is in the marketplace, right? Like, you got these companies like Daisy, right? So Daisy started from Brilliant right here in SoCal and Costa Mesa. And those guys are amazing over there. And like,
that's so funny. Just again, when I think about my time interacting with them at Sony, again, just they were another integrator out there, not better, not worse, not whatever, just one of the legions of the great integrators in the area. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, we're great and we're taking over.
Yep. They're great integrators in the middle of a market full of great integrators. Like, we are a wash.
Nationally recognized. Absolutely. It's some of the best in the game.
Exactly. And, that's the thing, though. The reason that they were able to do this, and it comes down, it touches a lot of different things, right? Like, I know I'm all over the place here, but it all does relate to processes and standardization. And if you could do that in your org, you're going to be in great shape, because your succession plan just got a whole lot easier when you could hand whoever you want to hand it to, and your thing is going to keep on. Sorry guys, it's bases loaded, no outs for the Metsies.
Oh,
yeah, I turned my phone over. Sorry. But anyway, but it's really it's absolutely for succession plans, right? So, you pick your guy or whatever. If you could hand them a playbook to just kind of keep chugging along with, great. For companies like Daisy and Bravos and a couple of these other guys, it's hey, this model works. We're all, we're part of EOS. If you don't know what EOS is, it's worth figuring out because it's really amazing thing for
I'm
your
seeing
business.
some people have announced that they're certified with EOS, so they're EOS providers now. Our good friend Haley Patterson and others out there have made that leap, which is pretty cool.
You're seeing a lot more of it, and it is. I mean, I can tell you definitely. I have a EOS implementer who is near and dear to my heart. I've read all the books, tried to bring it in here. Obviously, didn't work because but it's
you and I, so that's the first problem.
Yeah, who's gonna be what, right? There's not enough roles. But no, it is absolutely a standardization of all the things that make your company unique. And that's the emphasis, right? Like, hey, we could do this and we could do this and we could do this. That's a huge one. That's a succession plan kind of thing. Taking the Daisy business model and applying it to other integrators across the country as they're going in sort of a franchise model. We're going to start seeing that a lot more because there are a lot of older integrators who they maybe don't want to do this when they're 80, Right. You want to enjoy your life, and you've got this amazing thing that you created that you don't want to just see die. So, now is the time. And, here's a shout out to Jayson saying, who is just all over.
Yeah, he's a Sigma 6 Scrum Master Ninja, slice and dice you, make it happen, right?
Yeah, he's the guy who can come in and get your processes nailed down. And maybe someday we'll have him on a show because he's definitely he's an engaging fella for sure.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I heard him speak at the ASEAN conference in New Orleans a couple of years ago.
Yep, great dude. Another ex-Savant guy, crazy, right? Like there's so many of them in the world. But figure that out. But
we're out there.
We're out there. Yeah, exactly. Just secret fist bumps at every trade show.
Yeah, exactly.
With all the old team. But no, it's again, I'm sorry I went off on a tangent on this because it's definitely something that's what this is about.
Those conversations that's what the theory of this podcast is. We've turned it from shilling gear into talking about punk rock shows into talking about office concepts and business practices. It's custom. It's a different thing, different every day.
Yeah. Most statements of this show, if you were to take the audio clips, you could totally put in a sound effect of somebody just hitting a joint. And then the following statement, like, we really got to work on our integration plan and how the succession thing is going to go. We need to standardize all this stuff. And that's
not advocating that, just so everybody knows.
Doesn't have to be anything illegal. I mean, you're in Tacoma, for God's sake. Like,
I know, trust me. There's more Starbucks, or there's more weed shops than Starbucks in Tacoma. So that's just kind of how that is.
That's it. But hey, and I'm pleading with our audience to engage here because I know people have strong opinions on this stuff. Hey, come at me. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm, I've been at this for way too long and I don't know what the hell's going on the ground, but tell me.
Has to be on the podcast. Hit us up on the socials. We've got at Inside Integration on the old LinkedIn, or not on LinkedIn, sorry, on Instagram. On the gram. So, there's a couple of pictures up there. I'll try to do better about posting more stuff up there, but it's at inside_integration. So just if you're looking for us, come find us. And then of course we've got comments here on the YouTube page. Send us a personal email, send us a hate mail, whatever you got.
I drink your hatred. I drink your salty tears. But exactly. But hey, thank you for letting us be part of your day. And
if you stuck around to the end, thank you for listening to all our bad jokes and listen to the sign off. We appreciate you. We love you. Take care, everybody.
Take care.